What is up, everyone? You know what it is. It's the We Know Ball podcast. We're going to be talking about the NFL today. Obviously, it's what we've been talking about because that's what's hot right now. Some future updates. Next week, we got some hot stuff coming on. We should be interviewing a OHL head coach for the Barrier Colts. That's in the process. That is a maybe. We'll find out if that actually happens. It'll be on a Zoom call, and that will be our first visual upload on the YouTube channel. So let's get into these games. We got the Patriots and we got the Broncos. Very slow game. Hated watching this game. It was stupid. I didn't like it. Jared Stidham didn't play as good as he could. I mean, he threw an interception. Drake May had one of the worst passing games I've ever seen. 86 yards is diabolical. And I know he got a rushing touchdown, and the Patriots won that game. But honestly, I mean, it was a wash of an AFC championship. I would have loved to be at least like 21-14 or just something, but it was just clearly just such a defensive game. Uh, and honestly, Drake May almost had as many rushing yards as the top runner, Henderson, on the Patriots. And then the wide receivers didn't even really show up in these two games. So honestly, I think it doesn't matter who would have won this game. I think the Patriots, there's no way they win the Super Bowl with the team they have right now and the way they're playing. And then if we even go and look over at the other championship game, amazing game. That game was such a nice game to watch. Rams Seahawks, such a close, hard fought game. Honestly, I thought it was gonna be a blowout. I really thought, I said that I thought the Rams were gonna win, the Broncos were gonna win. I really thought the Seahawks would win, and I honestly thought the Broncos had a chance, but I thought the Seahawks would have blew the Rams out. And wide receiver game, as we said, Puka Nacua and Jackson Smith-Njigba showing out. Honestly, I mean, 150 plus from each wide receiver, a touchdown from each. Devontae Adams had a touchdown. Both quarterbacks had 3 touchdowns, no turnovers, just perfect games from both sides. Just the Seahawks did a little more. We talked about K9 getting more in. He got in. I mean, he got yards, he got a touchdown. He played a great game. Those games were very interesting to watch, and I loved watching the Seahawks game. I mean, any game this year so far, the Seahawks have had an amazing game, and they've been nothing short of a Super Bowl team this year. I mean, if you go to the Super Bowl now and you look at it, it's going to be the Seahawks and the Patriots. I really just don't think it'll be a battle. I know, it's the big matchup from back then, and it's the rematch. Will they throw the ball on the 1 yard line? All this other stuff is getting said. I think the Patriots get blown out by the Seahawks. The Seahawks have played so out of the league this year that there's no way that it's a close game in the Super Bowl. But it is the Super Bowl. We never know what's going to happen. So that's one thing. Then talking about basketball, Michigan State game. Great game. Michigan ended up pulling that one out. Honestly, my opinion, I really thought Michigan State was going to win. I thought I thought he was going to win the game for him. But Cohen Carr, honestly, in the most respectful way, he's not an all-around player. He's just athletic. He's a freak athlete is what he is. But Michigan just had all around way better. There was a video of the Michigan head coach sitting behind or in front of some Michigan State fans, and they were yelling at him, and he was horrifying, and it was hilarious because they won. But that was a big game. So now Michigan moves on to, I believe, 20-1, and Michigan State is now going to be 19-3. So those are some big games that happened in college basketball. March Madness will be coming up soon. That will be a hot topic. That will be something we talk about a lot when that comes up. Miami of Ohio right now is 21-0. I don't know if they played recently. I just know last time I looked, they were 21-0. Nebraska lost to Michigan recently, so those games. But we'll be talking more about those when March Madness comes around. As I said, we'll be talking about hockey on this upcoming podcast next week. If I get in touch with this coach, I got his number and we talked a little bit. So, but their game, the Barrier Colts, they did end up coming back in overtime and winning 6-5 against the Flint Firebirds. I am from Michigan, so I, kind of did root for the Flint Firebirds, but it's cool to see other teams win, and it was good to see them come back and win like that in overtime. Great game out of Joe Salandro, their rookie right now, and then their goalkeeper. I mean, he could have did a little better, but he played a great game. So it was good for them to watch them do that, and then obviously, later, like we talked about in the last episode, we got that new segment coming on called the Hot News segment. I can't wait to talk about that and do all that. But for right now, predictions. So for the Super Bowl, I think I'm going to say Seahawks. I'm not going to even throw it in the 40s. I'm going to say 32-14. I think the Seahawks win. And my Super Bowl MVP, honestly, it could be multiple people. It could be, it could be Sam Darnold. It could be K9. It could be Nick Evan-Warry. It could be Jackson Smith-Njigba. It could be so many players on this Seahawks team. I'm saying Jackson Smith-Njigba. He has been amazing this year. I mean, he's probably going to win Offensive Player of the Year. I think it was a throw up between him and Puka Nacua, but I think he's going to end up winning it. So I think that, it's his MVP for this game. I think that he's going to lock in and show the Patriots what he's about and kind of fry. I mean, I know he has Christian Gonzalez most likely on his matchup, but I think he could easily get around him and get open. I was watching last game, the announcers were talking and saying that it looks like he's gliding on the field, and I do see that. I mean, he does look like he's just gliding across the field, so it's kind of crazy. And then we have my new social medias that are up. This is my podcast part where we put it on Spotify and YouTube. Well, we have my TikTok and soon my Instagram, and then YouTube Shorts where I will be posting my high school and soon, eventually, hopefully, college interviews where I go around and I interview players because I'm trying to start my own sports network, the next ESPN of some sort. So that will be starting, so you guys can go find those. TikTok is WeKnowBALL26. Instagram will be WeKnowBALL Network, and the TikTok should be changed very soon to Network. And then the YouTube is WeKnowBALL Network also, with the cool logo that we got for the Spotify, obviously. I will be leaving another question for you guys down below. Same with a poll, but I'm going to tell you guys the question right now so you have some time to think about it before this episode ends, and you can answer it for me. My question of the week for this podcast is going to be, who is your MVP, early MVP next year? Think about it. You don't usually pick MVP next year when the Super Bowl hasn't even happened yet. Who's your early MVP next year? That would be the question. The poll, what will be your Super Bowl teams next year? For the poll, I only could put 7, so I'm going to list 7 teams of the high teams from this year. If you guys have a different team that's not in the poll, just throw it in the comments. Maybe I'll make multiple polls for you guys to click on, but I'm kind of, jarred with the things that they give me. And in a little bit, we'll be going to our hot news segment. Honestly, these games, amazing games. They played great. The playoffs this year was over my expectations. I was sad the Steelers lost, but it happens. Teams lose, teams win. I'm excited to watch the Super Bowl. It's going to be a great one. I think that the Seahawks will make it a fun game to watch. But yeah, so we're going to move on to our next segment after our sponsors.
Local Moves, moving household and commercial goods since 2016, serving Lapeer County and surrounding areas up to 40 miles. Recently going farther because we go the extra mile. Need a mover? Let us do the heavy lifting. Call us at 810-337-8883 or visit www.localmovesllc.com.
Thank you for Local Moves being our sponsors of this week's podcast. We are going to be coming back in 3, 2, 1. We're talking about the hot news. Hot news on the plate right now. Hirings for coaches. Mike McCarthy, he got hired last week, as we talked about, for the Steelers. Well, he just hired the defensive coordinator for the Steelers, is now going to be the Raiders' old coach, who honestly did super well. I didn't think he was a good pick, and then I spoke to some people I knew, got some answers around, and he was a great pickup. I mean, he did a lot more with his defense with a lot less talent than, the Steelers did with a lot more talent, as in Terrell Davis. So people are saying it's a good pickup. People like him, but we'll see. Obviously, we have to wait. Graham is probably going to be a good defense coordinator, especially if he listens to McCarthy. Now all we're waiting on is who's going to be the OC, who's going to be our offense coordinator. McCarthy also did keep a couple players off of the last year's team. Not players, sorry, coaches. Picked up some coaches. I think he kept the quarterback coach and a couple other coaches. And so those are big things. And then the Raiders are currently trying to hire Clint Kubiak from the Seahawks right now. That is in works. And the Arizona Cardinals are targeting Rams OC Mike LaFleur. That will be a big thing that's going around, just seeing what's going on with that hot news. Other hot news outside the NFL. We're not just one sport podcast. Paul George has been suspended for 25 games for not passing a drug test. He has been on drugs and violating the league's anti-drug policy. Cavaliers are trading DeAndre Hunter to the Kings for Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis. I think there's more to that, but that's all that has been released so far. There's other things. Amari Bailey just returned to college basketball after he played 10 games in the NBA. And another hot news, biggest one of the week probably, the Seahawks are selling the team. Amazing year this year, and all of a sudden they're selling the team. We haven't got the details on why they decided to sell the team, but they did. On Friday, Nikola Jokic came back and played his first game back from his injury. And Joe Flacco got put into the Pro Bowl this year, which everyone thought was kind of crazy. So those are things like that. The Vikings, they fired GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. He was fired. I honestly liked him. I thought he was a great GM for them. I don't know what they've seen in firing him for that. Milwaukee Bucks, they want to trade Giannis. Giannis has agreed that it might be time to part ways, and that is one big thing. And then I think the last one that we have of this week for the hot news, let me know in the comments if I missed anything. The Eagles have hired Sean Mannion as their new offense coordinator from the Packers QB coach. And honestly, I wouldn't blame him. I think that's a great pickup. I mean, he developed Jordan Love. Jordan Love has been a great QB. He would be a great fit for offense coordinator. And, they haven't had the best offense this year. So I think that'll be a great pick. But that's all the time we have for today. I'll see you guys next Monday on the 5th episode. We Know Ball out. One last thing, as I was trying to end this week's episode, one hot news that's going to be added in. This will be added after the end, but just bear with me, guys. The 49ers are going to be hiring Raheem Morris as their new defensive coordinator. That's all the hot news we have this week. You guys have a great one. We Know Ball out.